Right. The usual live, telling Darko jokes and then making it awkward for him to welcome people onto the show.
Yes,
Cheers.
hi, hi, and welcome to the stream. Welcome to the Friday edition of Bean Streaming with not Cobus and not Darko, or whatever you would like to call us. Welcome to this special. Is it Friday? It's Friday already. Wow.
It's
September
Friday.
11th,
Yes.
Friday, the September 11th. And today we're gonna do something still continuing with our CDK adventures, with our building of our fully fledged container-based application on AWS. As you can see, it's a mishmash of things. Um, uh, Basically, something works, something doesn't work. So we try a bunch of different things. So today we're gonna actually have a look at a relatively new feature of CDK, or actually it's still in preview. It's that new. It's called CDK pipelines. So CDK pipelines is
Ooh.
this. It's a pattern.
So
I
it's
think that
it's it's it's, it's CDK that's going to be in code pipelines, right?
yeah. So it's a pattern that creates pipelines for you. Basically, it's kind of a self-referencing pipeline where it kind of self mutates itself and a whole bunch of things. So it's a really nice way to deploy pipelines, or AWS code pipeline in this case, through CDK. So again, it's a very highly opinionated way to do things. You can do all of this without this, right? You can do it very manually, but this is a very highly opinionated way to do it. And today, what we're going to actually try is we're going to actually try to make this work. Try to see if it can work with our application. I'm not saying it will, because it's still in preview. It's still not publicly available. Well, it's publicly available, but it's still in preview. So there are some bugs and there are some missing features and some things. We're gonna have to try to figure out why it does or why it doesn't work. So that's the goal. And for those of you who is the first time you're joining our stream, what Cobus and I do on D stream is we are building an application, a container-based application running on AWS in a separate account. It's a simple application, nothing too complex as of yet. But the plan is to build off a container-based application running on AWS, deployed fully with infrastructure as code, because both of us are very much big fans of infrastructure as code. Deploy it successfully and do all the fluff around it. Not just a Hello World application, but do everything. And this has been going on for a few weeks now, and we've slowly nudged ahead every day, not too big steps. So if this is your first time joining, welcome. If you wish to kind of catch up on all the things we've done, we have a whole bunch of videos on the YouTube channels. And yeah, if you wish to follow, just keep on. And also, this is a very open stream, so feel free to kind of come in and ask questions. And this is just us talking, and none of this is prepared too much. So yeah, welcome, and we hope to end your week in a nicer way.
Cool. So I just shared our YouTube channel that we upload these files to over there. And also, if anybody's picking up any audio issues, please let us know if we are too soft or too loud. I know sometimes my mic is a little bit too loud. There you go. That might fix it.
I just turned off my phone so it doesn't make
Oh, yeah.
weirdnesses.
Same.
But
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. I think that might be what I'm hearing. My phone is under my one audio cable. So yeah, let us get things going. And also, just apology if you see me looking to the side. That's because I'm being responsible. We have decided to take show notes and then publish them. So I will be looking there every now and again and actually typing.
Exactly. So for people that are part of my stream, I've actually yesterday did some CDK pipelines myself, and if anybody was watching it there, you know that I ran into some issues in the later stages of the deployments because something was broken, and I have still not figured out what was broken. But again, it's previous software, so you can expect those kind of things. So today the goal is to first. Why is my Tmux complaining? Oh wow. It's complaining that it doesn't know where Berlin is. Okay.
Oh,
It could be my internet connection. My internet connection is fine, so that's fine.
well, I hope it's not because I can see you.
Yeah, you can, right? Hey, good morning, Nelson from Brazil. We did paste the YouTube channel.
Yeah, it might be in the history. Yeah, there we go.
You
That
can see
one.
it here as well. bit.ly.nazi_not_d. You can find it as well.
Well, this one's a better one. It looks better because it's both of us.
Okay. Fair point.
Yes.
Darko, could I increase my mic volume? Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you
Just-
for the feedback. Is
And
this
just
better
quickly
in
for those
Vale?
listening, sorry, I just want to double check. Does anybody hear any interference when Darko speaks? Because I'm picking some on my side, and I need to figure out if it's my headset or if it's Darko. So if somebody can give us a thumbs up, thumbs down to say if the audio is good, that'll be great.
Yeah.
It's likely my headset. It's been weird with you Bluetooth.
Yeah, I attempt to disable audio processing on this thing because the streaming service we use has audio processing, and if I enable it, you can hear some distortions on it, but currently it should be fine because my room is quiet. Thank you, And is this the audio, the volume is good now, right?
Cool.
Cool. So let's try to do something. First of all, let us review what we have done before. So if I go to CD repos and there's bean streaming, CDK infra, last time where we left off is we basically built a bunch of stacks, or we attempted to build a bunch of stacks. So we have a stack called, what is it called? It's a stack for DNS. Basically, we create a separate DNS stack in our environment, a CDK stack that creates a hosted zone for a domain called beardedbaldbeans.com. And that domain's DNS is actually registered with Cobus, so it's on his side. What we done on our end is basically we created a stack that just creates a hosted zone in our AWS account. Simple as that, nothing else. I think on this stack, if I go to DNS, no, oh, I have to go like that. 1 second. Oops. Vim, and then better like this. Bin, and then lib. I want to be able to do this all better like that. Yeah, the DNS stack basically just creates a simple hosted zone, right? Nothing special. And this perfectly works. Why did we select not to use TS node and instead compile to JS? I have seen CDK-based TS project. Why do we do TS node instead of trans? I don't know. I think it has to do something with the way that the language is made, because CDK is actually depending on a library called JSII, which is basically a JavaScript interpreter for multiple languages. This is the reason why we have support for Python, Java, F# and C#, besides just CDK and JavaScript. So this is kind of, I would assume that that's the reason why it uses why it doesn't use TS node, and why it uses JS, right? So. I think you can, right? I have not tried if you can use TS node instead of node. I assume you can.
We'll
right?
make a note.
Yeah, because here's the thing, like even if you do it with Python, there's no node, right? So if I do it straight with Python, you can do this exactly without any node. So, right. Again, the JS files, in essence, they look ugly here. If you look at this, there's a bunch of, there's no JS files in this one because we haven't compiled, but in essence, there should be a bunch of JS files, which are basically the artifacts of compilation of TypeScript to JavaScript. But I understand. But I think the reason behind that is JSII. So I really don't know. So So hosted zone. That's one thing. And the other stack here we have is the base stack. That's fine. It's being edited. That's okay. It's because I opened it somewhere else, apparently. But this stack creates the baseline. It creates the VPC. It creates the load balancer. It creates a whole bunch of underlying base infrastructure which we will be using for our application. Now, this is where we kind of stopped last time because we faced some issues when we wanted to mix and merge multiple stacks to make it work. Things were breaking, right? And as you can see, there's a lot of things commented out here because we were trying to see if Route 53 and HTTPS was impairing us on this thing. So that's all fine. And this is something we're going to be looking into as we go along. But the problem of this one is anytime we wanted to do a deployment, we used CDK deploy, right? So we basically used everything from my laptop, and that's okay, right? And prototyping and doing things. But to do it properly, you need a pipeline, right? You wish to deploy your infrastructure, your entire infrastructure through a proper CI/CD pipeline. Now, our plan was to create a CI/CD pipeline as well and basically do it fully through CDK. And then a feature called CDK pipelines came in. CDK pipelines actually is not. It's gonna be fun, yeah. CDK pipelines in itself is not a service. It's basically a module, a pattern, part of AWS CDK that can help us deploy those pipelines in a better and let's say I would say it's simpler way, but to be honest, it has so many complicated steps at this moment that it seems more work than not. But it has some great features, and I'll try to explain this because I kind of before we started today, I kind of built a simple scaffold just to see if it will work. It doesn't, but we'll try to figure out why it doesn't. So,
But I mean,
yeah,
I think let's just take a step back quickly and explain to people what the chicken and egg problem is, which is we've heard this infrastructure as code, and part of that tail end is that you deploy your code via CI/CD pipelines. So you want to deploy your infrastructure via CI/CD pipelines, but the pipeline is infrastructure.
exactly.
What happens? Because you need something to create the infrastructure that then creates the infrastructure. So you've got that little, and that's what we're currently trying to solve.
Correct. This is something we're trying to fix, and yeah. So the beauty about CDK pipelines, at least the example that I have here, is that it's a self-mutating pipeline. So what it happens, you only run CDK deploy once, and then from then on you do git push, and every time what happens, there's a stage in the pipeline that self-mute. Oh, my weather is back. It has a stage in the pipeline where it self-mutates, right? So it keeps on basically mutating itself and changing the pipeline as it goes along. So that's pretty cool. And and initially you and I had a discussion about this, and I was really against that. Like, oh, why would a pipeline self-mutate? But it works. It's surprisingly how well it works. So yeah.
Well, you kind of need it. I mean, there's it's literally so back in the days when I did. So I'm a big Terraform fan. And I used it for 5-6 years before joining AWS. Still use it a lot. Self-promotion, go look at my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But what I would do there is that I would define the infrastructure, the pipeline, to actually run the Terraform commands as part of the build steps in the Terraform file. But then I run that the first time you run it by hand, because that then sets everything up, and thereafter it runs itself the whole time, and then, like Darko said, mutates itself.
Yeah.
But that's unfortunately the only way. There's no magic. Let me think about infrastructure, and it appears yet. We haven't all installed Elon Musk's neural link thing. I saw something post about it.
As you can see, this failed. So let me actually go a step back. So one of the things I've done is I've kind of, before this stream started, I just wanted to make sure that some of the things I'm going to talk about are potentially working, or actually to kind of avoid all the manual typing and creating of things up front, because I want this stream to be, even if we don't fix anything today, the stream, I want the stream to be an exploratory thing into a pattern, an ECS, not ECS pattern, CDK pattern. And I saw ECS patterns being mentioned by Impale, and that's why I kind of skipped. But it's a pattern, and a CDK pattern is basically a very opinionated way to do things, right? So a great example there is an ECS pattern that Impale mentioned here. An ECS pattern enables you that in 5 lines of code create a full-on Fargate application, load balanced application from CDK. It does a lot of things for you. It generates a whole lot of code, and it's pretty cool.
And it's actually the focus of the show that there's a reason we're not using that. We are fully aware of it. We have used it. But what we want to do is we want to get to a point where we say, lol, we had to build this all out by hand. Look how long it took us. And I mean, we're currently how many episodes in? Cool. And then at the end, we're going to show, okay, cool. So it's always worthwhile knowing the building blocks, but you don't need to build them yourself the whole time. Don't waste time on it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. So don't try to over-engineer things initially. Try to play around and learn things, and that's what we're doing. And to be honest, like a lot of the things we're doing right now are also learning experiences from us. While we both are very experienced with infrastructure as code and CDK to an extent, we're by no means massive experts. We found out that the best way to learn is to kind of try to educate people as we go along. So, thank you for being part of the ride. In any case,
guinea pigs.
Yeah. So let's actually have a look at what we have here, right? So. There's a bunch of differences when it comes to CDK pipelines, the new pattern. And number one difference is the new style of bootstrap. So bootstrapping on CDK. Bootstrapping on CDK is the procedure when you run CDK bootstrap, where you tell the current region and the current account, say, hey, can you create something so CDK can work? And those things were an S3 bucket. That's it, right? It was creating an S3 bucket for you, some metadata, and that's it. Now, the new style of Bootstrap is much more complex, and it's currently and actually it's currently labeled as default, but it's not default. It's weird. So if you actually look at the documentation, CDK Bootstrap, if you look at the documentation,
Can you just make it a little bit bigger?
yes, I will. Just give me a second. Let me just open up the concept here, bootstrapping. So if you look at the documentation of bootstrapping, there's the default synthesizer, and there's the legacy synthesizer somewhere. They mention it. So there are two types of synthesis, the default and the legacy. The current default one is the legacy one. So if you want to use the default one, you have to change to a new style stack synthesis, basically enable this feature flag in cdk.json. So it's weird because the default one is not the default one. The default one is the legacy one, but the new one is called the default one. So and this is only currently required if you want to use CDK pipelines. It will be in the future, as I say somewhere. I think they mentioned this somewhere that in the future we will be using this as the default one. Yeah. So, okay, here it is. Like the newer template modern is required by CDK pipelines, right? And will become the default at some point in the future. That's it.
And I think quickly just pause here, because I mean, often people are a little bit confused about how AWS goes and Amazon goes about releasing services. And one of the things is that you might have heard we're customer obsessed. And part of that is that we need to get feedback from customers to know if this is the way it needs to work. And if you've ever built any kind of complex system and you spent 10 months building it, did it meet customer needs on day one? Somewhat, but definitely not exactly. So our approach here is release the smallest usable chunk, get feedback from users, and iterate on that. So this is exactly what's happening here. It's like, this has been feedback we got, we're getting it out there, getting feedback, and then trying to refine and build it better.
Correct. And the thing is, this is only currently required for a single thing. And that's why it's not being, ham-fisted to you to use it, because it's only used for CDK pipelines, which is, it is currently a thing in preview, I believe, right? It's not like there are some features missing, right? But this is what is required for like using this, and there are some useful features on it. So if you look at what's the difference between a new type of bootstrapping and legacy, this allows cross-account deployments. Otherwise, you couldn't do cross-account deployments with CDK that easy. If you want to have like a massive stack, like a big old stack which is bigger than 50 kilobytes, and that was one of the things that people were complaining about, that CloudFormation stacks were limited to 50 kilobytes. And even if you do it with CDK, if you go overboard, you will have a limit where you reach this massive CloudFormation template that you cannot deploy anymore. So this actually enables you to have multiple massive CDK CloudFormation templates. And this is also a couple of things that it does for you. It creates S3 buckets, KMS keys, roles, even creates an ECR repository, so you can push containers directly to that repository as an asset. Nice. And then later on you can do it somewhere else. I haven't tried it out, but that's how it works. Wait a second.
That's actually a very smart way, because I did a talk a while back on how ways you can start getting Docker usage and getting Docker experience without necessarily running it in production. Because one of the challenges is that everybody wants to move the containers, but they don't necessarily have the capacity to just change the production. Start using its tooling, because remember, pulling and pushing containers is a very core function. Use that to move your files around. So, for example, if you're installing a system, instead of pulling from, let's say, Git repo, push a container and then pull a container on the other side and then copy the files out of the container. That'll definitely get you familiar with Docker.
Correct. So there's a bunch of neat features here that are kind of helpful, but they are not mandatory for anything besides just using it in CDK pipelines at the moment. So again, if you're just doing regular old CDK, none of this is required now. I just want to kind of mention the differences here and the reason we have to use it. Now, I'm also not very intimate with all the changes here and what are the great things. Like it uses assets in this case. Like it enables you to like do CDK assets, which is just files, directories, Docker images, whatever you're putting in to your application. In essence, it stores it in an S3 file. In an S3 bucket or in an ECR repository, and then you can use that asset later on inside of your application. So it's very, very cool. So back to this one. So for the bootstrapping, I had to basically set line number 7. This is basically adding a feature into cdk.json and saying, hey, use the new style stack synthesis. And when you bootstrap your template, you will basically tell it, hey, you know what, use this one. Impaled mentions TS node, then you can see that we're using TS node in this case for some reason, right? It uses npx to basically execute the npm command and use TS node here to enable or how to launch this application. That's it. I'm not sure the reasoning behind that, unfortunately.
Excuse me for 2 seconds while I let out my naughty dog. She's smelling food.
Okay, that's fine. So by adding this feature flag, we enabled the new stack synthesis. So once we bootstrap the stack, it will be bootstrapped in a new way by adding all of these things here, right? So, and Impale, if you're missing TS node here in this case, make sure that you have the latest version of the CDK. So maybe some older versions use something else. You know, you never know. Things change. This is very important. Okay. What else? What else do we have here? We have a bunch of stacks, Cobus. If you look at lib, we have 3 stacks in the lib. So basically, these are the 3 things we're going to be using, or we're going to be attempt to use in our application. Now, the first thing here, and I've simplified our application for now. There's no DNS stack here, so I don't have to recreate it. And we're going to use DNS as we go along, but I didn't want to just do it now because it's DNS, right? It takes so long.
Yeah,
so,
that's a pain.
I've recreated our base stack. So this is our base stack, right? It has basically the same things. It has the VPC, the load balancer, the listeners, and basically that's it, right? It's that. It still has all the commented things out because we were trying to figure out why it was and wasn't working. So those things are something that we're going to be focusing on. But you know, the major things here are VPC, the load balancer, and the listeners, right? Now, what else? We have 2 more stacks. There's another stack here, and this is a stage stack. And a stage stack is, in essence, a combination of your stacks. Because if we look at a pipeline, right, you have your, how does a pipeline look, right? A pipeline has multiple stages. It has a source stage, has the build stage, and the deployment stage. Now, the deployment stage is actually multi-step things where you can have deployment to prod and pre-prod staging, you know, different types of stages you want to deploy to. And our stage stack is actually doing nothing else than just deploying our stacks. So currently it's deploying only a single stack. It's only deploying the environment stack. But if I would have multiple stacks like DNS, containers, and whatever else, I would add them here. So basically I will like have a wrapper stack for all of our other stacks, right?
But I mean, I think...
Yeah, go ahead.
Just pausing here quickly to explain to people the difference between why there's a difference between this. Because often what I see is people have got their pipeline, which is build, create artifact, deploy, and that's one pipeline. And the reason it's important to split that is the following, is like, let's say, what happens if you want to do a redeploy of a version? Let's say you want to deploy the previous version. Are you going to rebuild it? Preferably no, because I mean, it's built already, and you might have new library versions or something. So that's why I try and split your build and your actual deployment into 2 separate things that, yes, the build triggers the deployment, but you can run the deployment on its own, which it looks like this is what we're getting here.
Exactly. So like if I would have another stack here, for example, if instead of just having this one, I would also include like the DNS stack, but I wouldn't, right? But like, let's say we have another stack that creates just ECS, the ECS portion of this. I would basically add another 3 lines the same way like this in underneath here, right? Basically just add it here on line 12. So this will, my stage is actually a collection of multiple stacks. And why is this important? Because the way we deploy our application is in stages. So instead of deploying just the stacks, I'm deploying a full-on stage. And how do I deploy that stage? I go to my last stack here, which is the pipeline stack. And the pipeline stack is actually the main important thing here. The pipeline stack is where CDK pipelines come into play. CDK pipelines in this case basically are creating our pipeline, right? So it creates a pipeline, and you can see I did create a pipeline way back, or we did create a pipeline before, I believe, in one of our original stacks. It's a similar approach. It's just a bit more It's just a bit more streamlined in this case. So it's creating a pipeline, and it's creating a source action, a synth action. A synth action is just basically compiling npm. I don't think we need this one because I took the synth action from an example.
No. I'm going to say we definitely need this.
Okay.
Remember what happened with that issue we previously had?
Yeah, I know.
Where it
But
didn't, but
exactly. But I think this is specifically used for the example I've used before from the blog post, which compiles a lambda which is written in TypeScript. So I'm not sure. Like I haven't tested it. I have it here. I that's why I left it here because it cannot hurt.
Yeah.
But that's basically how you deploy it. Now, I have defined a basic pipeline, right? Now, how do I add my application? Because if I deploy this right now, it will deploy just a pipeline that has a source action and a build action and a self-updating action, right? Hey, Cobus. Oh, sorry. Hey, Dennis. Hi. Yes, it's Cobus and Darko. Building things again, or actually attempting to build things again. Breaking. Yeah. So
well, I just did a resiliency talk, so I'm good with breaking.
Okay, very good. How did the resilience talk go?
I think well, but welcome to the world of online, where you present to a conference where A, you don't know how many people are on the other side, and B, when you finish, it's just like
exactly. It sounds so weird. Man.
I know the talk is entertaining and it's fun. And it was actually a lot more fun because what I did is I recently had a long chat with Gunnar Grosch, who's one of our AWS heroes on resiliency as well. And I looked at some of his talks, and I don't know if you've seen what he does on stage and what happened at Serverless Days with our colleague Alex. So Gunnar's talk is about chaos engineering and resiliency and things breaking. Yeah. So in the middle of his talk, he's got a slide that looks like a hold screen for the projector, like the projector lost signal.
Yeah.
So part of the talk, he forgot to warn Alex. Alex runs up to the stage, unplugs things, starts to fix things. He's like, no, hold on. Because then Werner Vogels comes and hops around the thing where he talks about everything breaks all the time. It's just a question of time. Yeah. So I took that and added that to my presentation because it's awesome.
That's very cool. Oh, man. I always like having those kind of moments in the talk where you break the fourth wall. Okay, so, and this is how you add app actions. That's it.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Basically, I create a pipeline here now to add to actually deploy my application, to deploy our, in this case, a base stack. I just add three lines. That's it. So I basically say add application stage, and call it. I'm going to call it. It's going to be our bean stage stack, and call it pre-prod, and the account and the region. That's it. Like this would basically create another piece of application. Hello, doggo. It will create another.
Sorry, she's being naughty.
She's not. She's the best dog in the world, apparently. So if I would deploy this right now, this will basically create a pipeline that has this also included, right? So, but there's a but. It doesn't work for some reason, and I don't know why. So we can actually try this out. So let's actually go from the top and see how we can do this. What's important here is that we have to do a bootstrapping. We have to bootstrap our environment, right? So I have to do CDK bootstrap, and I'm gonna do it in multiple lines so we can have a nope. Wait.
Okay, that's interesting.
Profile stream. I am defining a different profile because I'm using a different account here. Here's one great thing about the new bootstrapping thing. You can actually define CloudFormation execution policies. So the stack will not run as myself. It will run as a CloudFormation execution policy. So if I can do CloudFormation.
That is awesome. So that means you can do. That's how it hops between the different accounts, I'm assuming.
Exactly. So you can
give it permission. Yeah.
So I'll actually show this to you. Look at this. AWS.
Wow. Good morning. Arcane is back. Welcome again. Arcane has actually been here quite a few times, and also just looking at the comments here. Welcome to Dream Traveling. So, Greece, nice. Yeah, we're getting some people from all over the world. It's It's an interesting slot because we catch some very early risers or insomniacs on the US side, and then we
Yeah.
catch some of the later people in the East, in Australia and India. And I'm trying to think where we've had people from as well.
It's mostly from
You know what
Europe,
we should
but
do?
yeah,
We should build a service where we ping people and say, listen, bring up a map saying where people have actually joined us from on the show.
that
I'll
would be
put a
cool.
show note in for that.
There you go.
Put it on the to-do. There we go.
Let's see which policy I'm actually have to using. So, okay, I'm using the wrong thing here. So it's policies, ARN, AWS, IAM, again, AWS, policy, administrator.
I'm just going to take a moment here and just say I'm very impressed that you can type out an error in by hand. That is.
I did it a few
impressive, that
times,
you know
that's
how many
why.
colons.
I did it a few times last night, so I remembered it. That's why. Here's another feature of this one. You can do this, and then the account name, account ID. It basically
that's
sets up
out
trust
there.
between accounts. So it sets up trust. So if I would do like I actually have a AWS accounts. I set up a file here that I can copy paste my account. So if I want to tell this account to trust the other account, I can do this. Basically, this enables the other account to deploy things to this account, which is amazing. I'm not going to do this right now because we don't care for that, but yeah, as we go along, we can do that.
But I mean, just for those familiar, if you're not familiar with role switching, what it does is you can create an IAM role inside one account with policies like you attach, like launch EC2 instance for load balance, etc., and limit it in any way that you want. And then in the trust portion, you can say, trust this other account. And what that means is that inside this other account, where's my hand? That means the root user in that account now has a policy. You can assign that to people, and then that person can, or role can jump into another account and do things as if it's their account. With whatever policies you give. It's a super, super powerful thing.
It is. And also, we're going to be doing something here called AWS environments. So just doing a vanilla bootstrap like this, I'm actually going to do it like this. So I'm going to be doing it like that, and I'm going to define...
Oh, we're going to call it production and dev.
No. It's not those kind of environments. It's a weird thing. Like I still haven't got completely used to that, but this is where you actually bootstrap an entire environment to AWS, basically defining an account and the region, and that's it. So I don't know why. Is this required?
Oh, but
is it not?
Bootstrapping. Okay.
Bootstrapping.
It makes sense. It's. I would say it's because that's what the base execution it needs to know where to run, because our services are regional.
Correct. So I'm gonna do. I did EU West before, but I'm gonna do EU Central. Why not? Let's see if this works. I'm gonna try to do it again because this is a region.
That one should be closer
me.
to you, Frankfurt.
Yeah, it's Frankfurt. It's 500 kilometers away, I guess. So let's try this. So you will see this. Notice like, oh, it's using the new style bootstrapping, and it should do a bunch of things. Right? It says no trusted accounts because we haven't set up any trusted accounts. It is using this execution policy as well. And it's going to create a CloudFormation change set. And as you can see, it creates a bunch of different things, right? It will actually create, so if I go to CloudFormation, and if I go to Frankfurt.
I was so happy when I saw that it's alphabetical, so Africa, Cape Town is a lot higher than the other ones.
It is.
Most alphabetical. US is still first.
Yeah. I didn't have a Cape Town until recently. I had to opt in manually for it. So...
remember, you have to always. It's it's one of the features we rolled out. So from 2 regions ago, you have to opt in because it feedback from customers was we don't want new regions just to be usable because then people might accidentally launch things there and we don't know about it. So
exactly, and people usually have rules to prevent things to be launched in specific regions. And when a new region comes in, it's like a whitelisted completely. So it's very important to have those things. So it creates a bunch of things here. As I said, it creates an SSM parameter, right? Like a version parameter, IAM role, ECR repository, IAM role, a bunch of roles, keys, and it will create an S3 bucket as well. So I believe, actually, not sure if it will create an S3 bucket, to be honest.
This is actually quite nice. I like it.
So it creates a bunch of things here for you to be used. Like if I have a look at here at the pipe, this parameter store, basically the parameter just says which version of the bootstrap we're using. So I guess. It's a great way. It's something internally. Again, most of these things are used internally for it to kind of understand what is happening. But once this bootstrap finishes, we can basically go ahead and try to deploy these things. While this is happening, I want to show another really neat feature that I learned from CDK. So, how do you, or everybody on chat, how do you handle passwords or secret keys or anything else you need to define in your lovely infrastructure code? I'll give you a
There's
minute.
a very easy way, don't you know? Simple.
Write it down. Yeah, Hunter 2. Yeah. Where do you put Hunter 2?
On the screen. Duh.
On the screen. So, one of the things that I like to kind of yell at people for is, hard code them. Do not hard code anything that's of secret value into your templates, no matter where you are doing this. Be that in your own super private Git server that runs under your desk, or doesn't matter, right? Use a proper security store. Use a place where you can store secrets and manage the secrets and manage the parameters. So, and I'm actually the example here. Instead of like using code commit, I'm using GitHub here because the example use GitHub. People asked me yesterday on stream, like, oh, why did you use GitHub and not code commit? I'm like, the example said so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it would work or not, but I'm basically using GitHub in this case. So I created a little repo called beancdk, and I'm the owner of that one. But to get the proper GitHub token, I can just define it here. Now, I could go ahead and put a string here and say, this is my GitHub token, but that would be horrible because everybody would start, ravaging and destroying my GitHub page. But exactly. But I've stored my GitHub token inside of the GitHub token secrets manager value. Basically, I created a secrets manager entry called GitHub token, and this thing actually queries that, right? So, and I just figured out why it doesn't work. I love that. Thank you.
Please tell us. Oh,
yes. So the stack was failing
broke?
before. The stack was failing before I started the stream. My stack failed. Right, the deploy failed, and I was fully expecting this to fail. And the wonderful, amazing, enlightening error was internal error. So I don't know why, but here's why it fails. It fails because it's looking for the secret value, which does not exist. Because this GitHub token is sitting in my other account and not here.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. But just to explain, what is this? So the CDK core module actually has the thing called secret value, secrets manager. It has the ability to directly reference things from secrets manager within CDK. So if you set this line 23, it will basically take this value from secrets manager. Actually, it will use CloudFormation's built-in support for secrets manager to actually reference it, so nothing will be written in a CloudFormation template. So Cobus, what we need to do, as our stack has been bootstrapped right now, I need to hide my screen. See?
Yes.
Because I need to do some CDK GitHub magic here. So
copy and paste. Oh, but I can still see your screen.
That's fine. I trust you. I trust you for some reason. So secrets manager.
I can disabuse you of that trust.
That wouldn't be very nice.
So speaking of, while you fix that, so speaking of trust, one of the things that's important is, for example, security for companies not leaving your laptop or desktop unlocked. So what I've often done at companies, if you see that this is a common practice, people get up, especially in open offices, to go do something, is you bring in this practice of not maliciously, but just slightly pranking the person just to, I need to do that. It's just like a gentle reminder, and you make it a game. So you build up a scoreboard internally. And one of the companies I was at had this thing called, you have to use the term baggy pants. So you would go into the person's Slack and say, I love taking long walks on the beach with baggy pants, or something like that. And then obviously that was a keyword and people would know, and then use that to keep track of it. And the thing that I found out is the most useful is if you combine two things on a Mac machine, which is run, which is, scheduling recurring things, which most people knew. And then there's this command called say. You can give it a string, and it synthesizes a voice to say something like, I like wearing baggy pants, and you put it in a cron job. And The it worked well, except the one time with one of the devs who never used his headphones and then got onto a conference call. And he was so confused because every 5 minutes in the call, he just said, "I love baggy pants," and he was just like, "Who's saying that? Why is this happening?" And yeah.
Okay, well, we
Ooh,
at AWS we actually did things with. I think we sent emails on like the. So I used to work in premium support, and if somebody leaves their laptop unlocked, you just jump on their laptop and send an email to the entire support organization or the local support team saying I love goats, and that was a thing. Like literally, if somebody starts sending unicorns and goats, you were unicorn or goated or something like that. So
there's even a phone tool for that, I believe.
yeah. So I've added my
Quick question
secret.
though.
Yes,
Sorry, just quickly pause. Very important question. Pizza time. Is there pineapple on the pizza or not?
of course
And
not.
do you approve of pineapple? That's a don't be like that.
Yeah.
Let's
Is
see.
Unicorn
Okay.
still fun? Arcane works for AWS, I believe. Arcane works for previous support, if I recall correctly. I think the pizza on pineapple on pizza depends on which country you ask, right? So I like to joke that I come from Serbia and we put mayo on pizza, so you know that's fine. So I created my secret here. As you can
Oh.
see in my Frankfurt region, I created a new thing. Now it may work. I think this may be the problem because it was failing
Ooh.
before with an internal error, which was super helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I think this might work right now. So this is Bootstrap. CDK deploy
Okay,
profiles.
quickly, just some feedback. It seems this is not my kind of crowd because I see that Fortet on Fire says no, and
This
Mr. Pentrexel
Pinterest.
says I used to live in Italy. So I can understand that, but
Yeah, and you know, I think the pizza, the Hawaiian pizza, basically the ham and the pineapple pizza, was made in Canada by a Greek guy. So
oh wow.
there you go. That was invented by that person. So actually, let me. Do I need to change this? This can actually stay in US. The thing is, actually no, I'm gonna change it to EU Central just to be sure. There was also a few things that I kind of figured out last time that there were some bugs, or at least I didn't read the blog post properly. If you want to do cross-region deploy, you can do cross-account deploys, no problem. But cross-account, cross-region deploys are a bit more complicated. And actually, Mr. Pentrexel told me this because I know him personally. Later in chat, later on an IM message, he told me like it's because KMS doesn't work cross-region. You cannot do KMS cross region. You can do it cross account, but not cross region. So that's why you had to actually bootstrap multiple regions, even if you're not using that one. So fun. Okay. CDK deploy profile. This one CDK deploy, and I'm basically using a profile, the string profile, so I can deploy it to the secondary account. And the bean pipeline stack is just the name of the stack we're launching. The name of the stack is the one that's defined in the bin file. It's this one. Basically, I'm deploying this stack. It's in this case. I don't have to define the thing. Oh, I just need to define the region. Sorry. Oops.
So just quickly recap for me to understand now, because I've now seen region and accounts in 3 places. This,
Yes.
which is then at the bottom there where we saw it.
This.
Other fingers. And then yeah, so there are 3 places. So maybe just quickly explain to us what the difference between all 3 is. So the one is for bootstrapping that I get.
So
Then
yes. So bootstrapping, we need to bootstrap a region, right? So when I did the bootstrap command here, you can see that I've well, it's missing the region here, but one of the old bootstrap commands that I ran was telling, hey, CDK, set yourself up to bootstrap in EU Central 1. That's it, right? Set yourself up to work in EU Central 1. This has nothing to do with our stack, right? This is just that you will do this once, and that's it. For any future stacks, the if is you're using the same region, it's going to be already bootstrapped, so you don't have to do anything here, right?
okay.
This one on line 8, this is where I'm telling my main stack or the stack that deploys the pipeline to bootstrap it, to launch it, right? I'm telling the pipeline, hey, create the pipeline, please, in EU Central 1.
Cool.
Then on this stack, on the actual pipeline stack, where I'm creating a stage. Now, this stage is basically just deploying our application because The pipeline I'm deploying is the pipeline that will deploy everything, right? And then one of these stages is deploying my actual application. In this case, it's deploying our VPC.
Okay, so you're telling it
And
where to deploy it.
exactly. So I'm telling this one, hey,
Okay, now
deploy
I'm
my
with you.
application.
Cool.
So, and this is great because if I want to deploy the same thing again and just use a different account ID, right? So, just change this to whatever, right? And in a different region, I can do the same thing by using this. So I can deploy like a production
Awesome.
in a different account in a different region of the same thing. So that's very cool. So let's try it again. Let's see if this works. CDK bootstrap, not bootstrap, CDK deploy. Fingers crossed. Like I hope this will work, but not sure. So it's basically setting up a bunch of other things here. So it's using a cross-region stack as well. Why is it using a cross-region stack? Why is it using EU West 1?
Don't we have that specified in the base?
We have somewhere EU West 1 specified, and I don't know where. So EU Central 1 is
well,
here. Yeah. EU Central 1.
And you did save all the files, right?
Exactly.
No, I'm just checking. I've had that. We can start seeing going back west if you want. Okay, now I'll stop.
Okay, so I think I know what the problem is, and this is usually because the new bootstrapping method, new synthesis method actually, doesn't synthesize directly to something like if you do CDK synth, it doesn't synthesize to a file, right? It actually synthesizes to a directory. So cdk.out. So this is where cd terraform plan works. This is all the things that are generated by CDK. So it creates all these stacks. Now, one of the things here that it could be that it generated something to do with EU West, because for some reason it's trying to deploy to EU West, and we shouldn't do that. So rmrf CDK out,
yep.
And then npm run build. Because it should not have deployed to EU West 2 because there's nothing to EU West 2 at all. Wait.
That sounds like, ooh, I know it's wrong.
One second.
Ooh. AWS config.
Yes.
Yes.
I defined the region.
So the good news there is self-promotion time. Next week on Wednesday, I will be running a session on how to configure your AWS CLI, and we are going to look at multiple profiles and doing role switching. So I believe that was what the issue was here.
Denny 111 app.js is actually, that's not the thing here. So if I do open up here and find the bin, sorry, not the bin, the application in itself, it's no, not this one. Lab, no, bin.
So many files, so many places for it to go.
So many things, my God.
I must say that's the one thing with the JavaScript. I'm assuming, because I'm not a JavaScript person,
Me neither.
and I haven't spent a lot of JavaScript. But the fact that they split into lots of small files, I'm understanding a little bit of the logic behind there, but it's one of those things where I personally feel like the approach that Go has with a single binary, and that's what you deal with at the end, and is
just great.
Nice and clean.
I know. That's so amazing. And this just introduces a lot of complexity. And let's be honest, it's complex for us who are not very experienced with JavaScript. And I'm sure that folks here who are very experienced with JavaScript are just, this is second nature to them. So it could be us. It could be us. So
hey, Joe Frickson is also here.
Hey, Joe.
Getting a couple of good regulars. Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Actually, it's almost 12 again, so welcome to the people that have joined us in between.
Let's see if it will create a secondary stack. I'm really interested. It won't. Okay, so there's something, maybe did an npm run build, so run npm run build, folks. So, okay, it creates a bunch of things
Good
here.
thing it's in our build pipeline.
Exactly.
See, I told you.
Yeah. So it's going to try to deploy now. So it's deploying all to EU Central 1. Hopefully. And last time it failed because it was just internal error, whatever that means. So we'll see what happens.
So quick question here from Joe around what time next time will that episode be running? I just want to double check. I believe it's at 1, so an hour and 12 or 11 minutes from now. Just give me 2 seconds to confirm. This thing is slow. Emina streaming. We have documents for things. Nice text managed documents. Let's code one. Yeah. So it will be on the hour, an hour from now. So whatever that is in your time zone, that's when it is. And it's also a regular slot. We have something every week on that slot. This week, Darko actually did a CDK with serverless application for those that are interested. And then, did you actually stream to a YouTube channel? Is the video available somewhere?
Yes,
Maybe
if you want to check out my CDK stream, it's available on my YouTube channel as well.
which you can see at the bottom of the screen because I did some
yeah.
channel art.
There we go. So
Yeah.
you can find it there. It was fun. I mean, it was something that I really did enjoy to do. So I love talking CDK, especially things that I know I've rehearsed and I know how to do. But yeah, if you want to check out the video, I just pasted it in the chat. So.
Yeah.
But it's a
and
great
also just
thing.
for those
Yeah.
for those that appreciate humor, as you can see at the bottom, naming things and naming things consistently is exceedingly hard because between Darko and myself, even though we've got slightly, things that we call ourselves, we don't have the same anywhere.
No.
Everything's slightly different.
I think it's due to the fact, I would say it's only due to the fact that the time we created, like I created my YouTube channel in April, right? So, and I also created my Twitch channel in April. So it was something very new, right? Because of the plague. But my Twitter handle is like 10 or 11 years old. So, yeah, I didn't count for that, right?
I'm still going to see if I can change my YouTube channel name because I actually have got the Cobus Bernard one. But with YouTube naming change, so that's the default for my other one. So I might need to, and I've got nothing on that because I don't use the personal one. This is my tech one.
Okay, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
If you can do that, that kind of solves a lot of problems.
Eventual consistencies, except for the old videos that we did. Then have to go put in comments there and redirects.
Oh man. But hey, at least, so if nothing, this entire situation with COVID has taught me how to do YouTube and how to stream and how to do all these things. Because before this, I was like always amazed how people can stream and do these things. Oh, it must be so interesting, and it is. But I've learned how to do it right now, and it's super fun. Like I am. And when I don't stream for like a couple of days, it's like weird. Like, oh, I wanna show my face somewhere. Let me do something. So I jump on stream and do random things. Yeah.
So, streaming and obviously working from home has been hard because I don't interact with as many people as we used to. So I've started to make a menagerie for me at home. So let's see if we can zoom on this.
Oh, it's a bit too bright.
It's a bit too bright, but basically, what it is a little USB thing. It's now got horns.
It's a charger.
Face drone. Yeah. So that's my little cow, and I've got my little friend over here, Mr. Sidekick. I just redid my office, so in terms of moving things around, I haven't yet figured out exactly where I'll be putting him because he was a regular on the show as well. Cool.
No, I have nothing like that. I have my console here, like I've showed this off yesterday on stream. I have my Super Nintendo here plugged into this monitor, and I got a bunch of games. So I was a true gamer yesterday with all my cartridges and the things and all the Super Nintendo Super Mario love. So I'm wearing a Super Mario t-shirt for today. Ha! It works. See, it was. I've solved the problem.
There we go.
It was the thing.
Toys.
I just wish this thing was a bit more expressive when it was saying, "Hey, your stack is broken, not just internal error." But if we go to CloudFormation right now,
Dun dun dun. Oh,
we will see.
Just quickly, that's another feature that rolled out recently. If you just click on services, you would see there's no longer just 5. It's now up to 15. On the left.
Oh, yes. Amazing. Love that.
Yeah, because that used to be because you tend to use more than 5 services, I found, if you use AWS, and it became a little bit like annoying, like, where's that old one? So that's a new thing that rolled out.
That's very cool. That's very interesting. Yeah. So we have a bunch of things here, but the most important things are the code pipelines. If we go here.
Well, until we get our app deployed.
Yes. So we will see our service pipeline. And now our applet will try to deploy. It may fail. Okay, the build has failed.
Ooh,
so
okay.
The synthesis actually has failed. So I need to see why it has failed. But has it failed? Yeah, right now. So we can go here and see why it has failed. But let's actually just explain what has happened. There's a source phase. This is where it picks up everything from GitHub. The build phase will actually just run npm build. This is what it will synthesize the stack itself. So you were correct. It will do the synth on itself, right? The update pipeline this is where the pipeline itself updates. So if we're updating the stack, it will update itself. And you can see here, there's a pre-prod stage. It's because we added that little thing on the pipeline to create the pre-prod stage, which is basically gonna deploy our environment, our base environment. So, but it didn't reach that yet at all. So let's see, why did our synth fail? Okay. Default synthesizer set to the CDK new style context. Okay, pre-process have deployment role information. Use default stack synthesizer set.
Okay. I think just a quick pause, side note, while you think about that, is just for those not familiar, that was Code Build, which is a service that allows you to build, code, and it runs inside a Docker container. So it's a nice, easy way to build things or run commands.
I know why it failed, because the CDK JSON was bad when I did it last time. There you go. CDK, because it's complaining that it's missing this validation. The default stack synthesis is not set up, right? And it should use that one, because
and we just added it.
Yeah, because the thing was bootstrapped in this way. So AM, let's say, fix things. I like to
make, the most useful comment ever.
Yeah, I like to make useful comments by just saying fix things.
Yeah, no.
Push. Okay, so now it should...
I wouldn't say that word on the channel. That is a very bad word in Afrikaans.
Push?
Yes, don't say that.
Okay.
Yes.
We have a word in Serbian called puh. Puh is a... what's a puh? It's an animal. It's this. It's a puh. It's what is it called in English? It's a garden dormouse.
A mouse?
Dormouse.
Oh, little mouse, yeah.
Dormouse. Yeah, we call it puh. So
yeah.
In Serbian, so puh, yeah.
Yes.
And also puh is one of the military vehicles you have made by Mercedes.
So anything in Afrikaans, we've got a thing called the puchi, which is a little scooter.
This is a puch, so it's Steyr Puch. This is the things we have in our armies, for example. Yeah, Steyr is Puch is a Austrian company that produces vehicles. Yeah, and basically this is the Model G of Mercedes in military form. So,
Puch. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay, so this is done. Let's see our pipeline. We can go back to pipelines. It's currently in progress. The build has succeeded, so we have fixed that. So it's updating the pipeline. It's going to do like a self-mutating call. There's nothing to do here because there's no changes to the pipeline. If we would add a new stage, it will basically do it again. So it will modify itself by adding a new stage or modify this existing change. So basically, this is the thing that will do proper self-updating or self-mutating of the pipeline. So
here's a question: when you have that in place and it does a mutation like it does now, I'm assuming it doesn't run the rest of the pipeline because it doesn't know what the rest of the pipeline is going to look at. Okay, cool. That makes sense.
Stops. Yeah,
because that would be very meta.
No, it basically just repeats itself, right? It goes again. So
okay. Cool.
And if we look at the details here, I think I can open up this thing. You can see that it basically deploys the stack again, but there's no changes here, no changes to be performed. That's all fine, and it goes back. So here, what happens now? It creates a CloudFormation change set. So it's going to create a CloudFormation change set with the stack that was synthesized before. Now, I hope this will work because I really don't know if it will, right? It may fail because...
this is what we're here for. We are here to learn. I'm super curious.
Because if it fails, it's going to fail because our stack is bad. Our actual stack is bad.
Ooh.
Yeah. So,
a rotten stack.
A rotten stack. So this is something we're going to have to figure out as we go along.
Oh, man. I'm going to have to see if we can get some kind of animations in here because that would have been fun. Like me.
So, okay, the change set was created, and if I go to CloudFormation, you'll see that there's a stack being created right now. See, see, it creates the VPC.
I like this.
Yeah,
I must confess, this is one of the things that bugged me quite a lot about CloudFormation is how hard it is to do that. How do I get started with it to build up the CI/CD pipeline for my stuff?
Yeah.
So I'm like super excited that this is coming out.
Okay, so it failed. That's fine, but it failed.
What did we break?
value.
Oh, dummy 1A. Dummy 1A sounds like...
So parameter for availability zone is invalid.
I'm gonna guess that it's a dummy value,
It's a dummy value.
because I don't believe AWS has got a zone called dummy 1A.
And
Well,
not-
maybe...
Yeah. So
Okay,
not sure why
let me
is it
just quickly... Yeah. Oh, I can't rename you. Wow. Wait,
Nope.
I can.
Nope. You
Oh.
can't. But let me actually. I'll do you justice, Cobus. Dummy.
Done.
Ah, you did. Thank you. Dummy 1A. So AZ dummy 1A. Okay, so I think this is a problem because the zones here are actually being generated during the npm build, right? So or something like that. So it actually, because we are using just a default VPC value, it gets the zone names from somewhere, right? It generates the zone names in an output file. So this could be just a fact that it doesn't support something to do with the pipeline here, right? Some compilation is just bad. Something goes completely awry. And I really wonder what could that be. So I'm thinking, what can we, yeah. So, by the way, I can hear my knocking on the neighbors.
Yeah,
neighbors
there's a new
side,
comment about that.
yeah, I saw. So give me a second. How can we fix this? I'm wondering how can we get this? Because if we look at if I would look at the template right now, I think you would have dummy 1A, dummy 1B. So,
Probably, definitely, yeah.
yeah. So let's have a look.
Yeah,
at
there
the
we go.
subnet.
There you just scrolled past.
Did I?
Yeah, up. Stop. Stop. There we go. Bit down. At the bottom of the screen, 4 lines. Stop. 7, 8
dummy
lines
1A.
from the
Okay,
bottom. There we go.
So this is being generated by CDK, and why is it using dummy 1A? Because I know this is part of the source code. If you look at the CDK source code, you will find dummy a lot. So there's a lot of times it mentions dummy. So
Maybe we need to explicitly pass it in.
you can, but let's try it actually. So let's open up our stack that actually creates our environment. So we need to pass these things to here. But the problem here is we're hard coding AZs there, and then it's not good, right?
Yeah.
That's not good thing here. I really want to try to figure out when did this thing
Why
go?
it's doing that, yeah.
And it's one of these things when it comes to synthesis. So it's one of the pipeline steps, right? So if I go to details on this one, so it will fail, that's fine. The thing here is also fine, but I think it fails here on the build, on the synthesis, right? So if we go here,
Do me a favor, look at that, the failing stack, the inputs. Is it maybe being passed in?
no, no, it's hard coded in a template, so the
Okay, yeah,
zones
so
at
it's not.
least, So let me see what happens here. So this is what it does. It runs CDK synth. Let's have a look. So this is the pipeline. So this is just doing what? What are you synthing here? What are you synthing about? So this just synthesizes the pipeline
That
itself.
joke.
Yeah. So this just does the pipeline. So this is not the build of the stack itself. This just builds the pipeline, right? So let's have a look at it here. So this is where the fun starts. So I'm actually gonna go on this one, and I'm wondering where does it actually build? It does this, right? This should be it, and this runs npm cdk synth. Can we find VPC here?
Fine, dummy.
Dummy, no, it's not here. It doesn't even do that. So this is already the parts of the CDK pipelines module that I really don't know. So somehow it's failing to do this because it pulls the code here. That's all fine. And if I look at, let's actually have a look at the code here. because we may have something here that breaks things, and I don't think it should. Wondering if there are some hidden files or things we need to be wary of, but no. Because deploying of that stack, when you run npm run build, it compiles the things. When you do cdk build, it defines the availability zones. And then, because the demo doesn't even work with availability zones, it doesn't so this could be a bug in CDK pipelines. Just it doesn't work with VPCs, right? Again, previews, service preview module, it doesn't work fully. So one part of that actually doesn't do something here. So let's actually try to find it. So CDK pipelines.
Could we do the following? No, that'll break. I was going to say add an output, like the typical print line error debugging, but it doesn't create the object, so it won't work.
No, exactly. Yeah. So account region, so the bootstrap, it's a bootstrap thing. So bootstrapping, initializing projects, that's fine. New style synthesis, defining pipeline. So this is the entire page about the pipeline itself. So this is the synth action, right? So this is the build step. Freeze the TypeScript lambdas, that will need to become. I'm using this anyway, doesn't matter.
Sorry.
Sources, synth actions. Okay, this is fine. Application stages, that's all fine.
Actually, I want to open up this. I'm not curious. Let me look.
See, I could have Googled this thing. The internal failure is actually a GitHub issue. I could have Googled this and I can find it on documentation. There we go. Okay, there are some limitations. Like I know that the VPC from lookup doesn't work, right? So that's a problem here, right? Queries do not work. Console to the accounts, change sets, field apply, pipeline that required. Stack the field to deploy must be deleted manually. That's fine. So there are some limitations to this one right now. When it comes to availability zones, so let me actually look at this. AWS CDK.
Because I would expect this. Because might be the underlying. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if there is a way that. Okay, so this is.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Well, one way we can work around this, maybe instead of trying to find the bug right now, is to do a AZ lookup and then pass that into our VPC.
Yeah, for sure. So this is where the things should be located. The CDK context.json. So this is basically the thing that are being created when you run the initial setup. This is where it contains things like zones from lookup and those kind of things. It will not work in this case, most likely because of the lack of lookup features here. So I think CDK pipelines will not work in our case because of this thing, right? So like availability zones are going to be missing, and I think there's no availability zones. There's actually no cdk.context file. So cdk.out, if I go here, there are no cdk.context at all, right? So there's nothing like that. It's just cdk.out. So cat cdk out. We just have version numbers here. So so there are it's missing availability zones here, for example, right? So things don't work here apparently. Let me just try to, maybe somebody already ran to this issue. So cdk pipelines VPC AZ. Okay, so support context, yeah, you cannot create a cross-region VPC with code pipelines, and it's closed. See, what is it? Sensation hasn't. Okay, wow. Yeah, so I think I have to follow this up. Let me subscribe to this thing. I really want to follow up with this with the folks from CDK. But yeah, context lookups don't work, and this is a feature open. Yeah, currently it's not currently supported, so it doesn't support lookups at all. So yeah, Impale it does, but I think it's the problem here. If I do CDK synth, let me go back. CDK synth, it will not generate a file, right? It doesn't do that because it uses new style synthesis. So it generates a bunch of different things here. So if I do here, there's no cdk.context.out, so context.json. So we're going to have to skip on the VPCs apparently. So what's the lesson here, Cobus? A newest feature, newest service or a thing we have may not be suitable for everybody, right? So in our use cases where we have to create VPCs, we can try to work around it. But
I think this is an important juncture to, because often people use things like I'm using the bleeding edge version, I'm using the cutting edge version or something.
Yeah.
And I actually use those terms without fully understanding them initially. Where this comes from is cutting edge is be careful, this might cut you, because it's still a bit rough around the edges. There are issues. And bleeding edge is kind of telling you like, listen, there's a much higher likelihood that you will be cutting yourself and causing issues.
Correct.
So when you get old and cynical, I don't know if Darko is quite there yet, because you kind of start stepping away a little bit from bleeding edge software and you wait for not version 1, but version 1.1 at least, where there's been some patching, depending on what you're building.
Yeah. And just to answer Impale's question here, we're not even trying to do cross-region VPCs. We're trying to create a VPC using the CDK code pipelines. The problem here is when it tries to generate a VPC because of the latest version of bootstrapping, apparently this doesn't work now because it's looking for dummy 1C value availability zone, which should not exist. The AZs are getting populated during the CDK synth, and it doesn't do this for some reason I don't really want. I don't really know, right? So
we've only been able to find dummy 1A.
Yeah, and I'm dummy 1A, as you can see here, right? So I'm the top dummy in the region. So this is why it failed. So now, is this a limitation of CDK pipelines? I would assume so because this works, right? In this case, I mean, I don't really want to do cross-region VPCs, but it's just a matter of this not working at the moment, right? So I think this is something that I need to figure out how this is broken, because the VPC information is actually stored in the ZTK context thing, but that doesn't work, right? It's kind of the limitation of one of the new bootstrapping things, right? So it doesn't support, I think. So let me actually see, does it actually say that does it support here? So if I do a VPC, does it have a lookup? No, it's a limitation of the pipeline. It doesn't support queries, right? So these kind of things. And I think when you create a VPC completely with a single line, it requires like a lookup on a bunch of lookups to do things like find AZs and all those things. So this is something I need to actually check out with people from CDK to see if
I will put it on our thing.
Please do. I really want to follow up on this and ask the folks.
Sorry for the silence there. What we're doing is I'm making a note on this side because we've decided to be slightly more organized with our sessions, and we will have notes and descriptions, and we will be tagging and sorting out the YouTube video and all of those fun things to make it more discoverable.
Yep.
And also we will come back with questions in the next episode from this one that we find answers to, if we find an answer.
I'm gonna actually reach out to the folks today on our internal channels, because hopefully, now the thing is, because CDK is an open source tool, a lot of people contribute who are not in AWS. So this is sometimes just the fact of, hey, trying to find the right person for this job. But I think unless we find a solution to this by the next time we come to on stream, we're going to revert to the old way of doing things, like the non-CDK pipelines, and we're going to be creating pipelines ourselves, right? We're not going to be using this pattern. We're going to be using our own, because again, everything I've done here can be done manually with the existing things in CDK by creating a pipeline yourself. It does involve a lot more effort, but it's possible, right? It's
That is
this is
doable.
not
Yeah.
yeah, it's doable. This is not reinventing anything. This is not creating new features to CDK. It's basically just giving you a simpler way to generate this where is it?
Speaking of, you just triggered me with the word reinventing. I just want us to start mentioning it right now because
Yes.
in December and the mid up until the middle of January, we will not be streaming on the AWS channel at all, and in a high likelihood, we won't be streaming at all. Reason being is that this year reInvent is actually online, and
Yeah.
also it's free. So if you've never been to reInvent, this is a great opportunity to be part of the whole experience and join us online. So during that period, we likely will not be streaming. We will be doing lots of reinvent stuff or reinventing. Get it?
But we're if I mean I'm gonna be continuing streaming on my own channel for sure, right? Just I think this entire thing will be kind of paused, I think. And will Joe asks, will reinvent come to Twitch? I don't really know. I have no idea how it's gonna be streamed. So some parts of it, right? So at least the things we're gonna be doing on stream are gonna be part of this, but not
Yep.
uh,
So
not yeah
what I can, yeah, what I can give an update there is that we will definitely be streaming
yeah
on Twitch. Not necessarily everything, but and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag in terms of exactly what we're planning, but it's quite an interesting
yeah.
experience. But there will definitely be live streams. I'm actively working because I actually switched teams. I am now on the global online team at the moment. Well, not at the moment, as of a few days ago, and we are focusing on how do we do the reinvent live streams to do
Yeah.
live demos and launchpad and all of those things people are used to.
Yeah. Cool. I guess maybe if there's any questions coming on from the crowd, because like
please, yeah.
continuing on this right now, and we have like 15 minutes to go. We're not gonna revert everything back to the original stack. I mean, we have the original stack, but we're not gonna do anything in 15 minutes. So maybe if anybody has questions on chat, maybe we can talk about something, or I mean, we can just shoot the wind, as they say.
Well, I mean, if nobody's got anything, I'll give them a moment to just quickly grab what I want to talk about.
Oh, what do you want to talk about? Is it your dog?
No.
I'm excited to see what's
Here we
happening.
go. What do I have here?
It's your internet is very bad, so your video, at least for me, is very pixelated. So is it a deep racer?
Well, the inside of a deep racer. And
Oh.
yes, except you are making a definition mistake. We have
Deep
5 of them, or 6.
Wow, man.
We have 5 of them, so I've stripped them down.
Okay.
And I want to start playing and creating a cluster with them. And I'll be using Systems Manager to firstly patch them because these are very old. They have not booted
Yeah.
since April last year.
Okay.
So history for those who haven't watched, these are old deep races that we used for training and things, and they had something broken with them. Either the Wi-Fi wasn't good or something. And well, obviously, if there's the Wi-Fi, it's going to be a very interesting experience. But we'll figure out what happens.
Yeah. Well, that's very cool. I mean, can you stream that thing that you built? That would be really cool to watch.
I am definitely going to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because I have, I think, broken deep races, so I've got all the cameras. I'm actually busy looking at how can I have like a string of cameras on
Okay.
USB cables hanging, so you can actually switch from the different views to be able to. And I want to see if that works. Because the idea then is have that set up, then connect all of these, and then quickly connect one by one, because it runs Ubuntu under the hood. So
Yeah,
log
yeah.
into them, get Systems Manager up and running, and then once we have that, then we can have some fun.
It's very cool. That's very cool. Well, looking forward to seeing that. Cool.
Not next week. Next week is crazy.
Okay.
Actually, I can do some self-promotion. Again, I'm actually speaking at the first GitHub Africa virtual meetup next week, and I'll be talking on GitHub Actions using Terraform to create infrastructure.
That's very
So
interesting.
that should be a bit of fun. Yeah.
And does GitHub very integrate nicely with Terraform as well, or is
Yeah.
there some magic
No.
you need to do? That's very cool.
No. There might be some magic. Who knows? Come to the talk.
I will.
Mm.
Cool. Cool. Well, I mean,
What else has
I've
been
been
fun?
playing with this yesterday, the entire pipelines thing, and it's cool, but I think I've ran into some limitations that I need to figure out. But I think
But
I'm going to
that's
be
the entire
sticking
point of
to
the
C.
show.
Exactly. So this point of the show is to try to build something and at the same time try to fail. Or actually try not to fail, but we always fail. So as you can see, I'm done.
Well, we learn
learning.
from failure.
We learn from failure for sure. For sure.
I love it.
I love it. Cool. Well, so next week,
Don't worry.
we're going to continue this on Monday, right? Again, we're going to try to get some information coming from the AWS CDK team to see if I can fix this, if we can fix this. If not, we're just going to continue back to the normal thing. But also next week we have a bunch of other things happening. I'm wondering if I have something.
Next week is crazy.
There's the awesome week for South Africa.
Yes.
Sub-Saharan
Cool.
Africa actually. So. There's an awesome link. So if anybody in chat here is new to AWS and wishes to learn more about AWS, I think Cobus will share the link here about the link or about this awesome week happening next week. Basically, it's going to be 5 talks on like introductory topics to AWS. So if you're new to AWS,
like really intro to cloud.
Yeah. So if you're really new to it or wish to kind of learn it, it's a free thing. Go there, sign up, and be part of that. And you're gonna also see my big old face on that one. So
yeah, and good news, Darko, your intro has been approved. I'm not going to spoil it here on the show.
has it been
But
approved?
it has been approved. We are leaving it as is. Darko did something slightly different to our normal to make things more interesting. And
And I
I
vow,
had a chat
that
with,
I'm gonna do on every future recording. I'm gonna do something new as well. So I decided. So here's the thing, folks. We do a lot of recordings and webinars, and since the plague started, people have been watching people on screens a lot, and I decided we need to at least give some fluff to a presentation or to a talk as much as you can on stream, on screen. So doing some silly jokes or making fun of yourself or just doing a very cringe-worthy intro. So yeah, I try to do those things as long as marketing approves. But yeah.
and in this case, they did. And let me quickly send that link. Sorry, I just created a bit.ly for it. There's a nice short toy. So let's just say the AWS awesome week for SSA. Now, just because it's for SSA doesn't mean other people can't join, because literally it's the internet and anybody can join. So there is the link. Interesting. Bitly is HTTP by default. I would have expected HTTPS. I just copied directly. So there we go. Okay. Yeah. So if you are interested in getting started, or if you know of people but once again, just to clarify, this is very, very low level getting started. We explain cloud concepts and services and how you start putting the services together. So this is great for people that have never worked on AWS before at all.
Correct.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Looking forward
What
to
else
that.
is there? Throw us some questions.
Yeah, throw us all questions.
It's,
We have 8 minutes remaining.
Yeah, we have got some people online. It doesn't have to be CDK questions. It can be AWS tech questions, or even just general AWS questions.
We like
You like my jokes? Awesome. Thank you. Man,
bad jokes. The bad
were
jokes.
you on the stream yesterday when I caught Richard off guard or not?
Oh yes, the UDP joke. Did he get it? He did. Yeah,
So just for those who are watching, I love dad jokes even before I was a dad. And the way you rate them is that the topmost level is if you get no laugh, but just that no.
no.
Just like denial. Then you get grunt, and then you get giggles. And those are the three like main tiers in terms of where you position them. And that was a good one, I think.
I always like the also the shitty tech joke. How's it called? 3 database admins walk into a NoSQL bar. A bit later, they walked out because they couldn't find a table.
Well, the other joke that I enjoy, it's not a SQL joke, but it's you are inside a room, there's a table, and nothing, and no door or window. How do you get out of the room?
I don't know.
Okay, you cut the table in half. Why?
I don't know.
2 halves make a whole.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Yeah.
And for those, since we're now on the joke and we're literally just filling up the time, the joke that Darko referred to earlier is the sinking one. Is there's this funny video clip where it's a boat that's saying Mayday, 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 we're sinking, please help us. And then there's this German person on the other side, and just quickly context and make it understand people understand it is that Germans when they speak English and they've got a heavy accent, instead of saying the th as a th, they say it as a s, just because of the how they're used to speaking German. So then this person responds with, "Hello, what are you thinking about?" Meaning thinking and not sinking.
Yeah, and there's a reason why Germans use the th for the th, because the th sound was a character. It's like it was called the thum or something like that. The old English used it was like a o with a something across of it. It was a special character, right? And the Germans didn't have that character. And when the first books came to be printed in Germany, right, coming from England, they would send them a written book. And the Germans, because they didn't have that character, the closest character they had to it was the sound s. And basically, they would print English books with that character, and Germans got used to just saying the s sound on the time you have to do it.
Okay.
So, and it completely just picked up from there, and it's no longer that case. But yeah, that's why Germans use the s for the th. So,
Yeah. So quickly, the real Fernie. How we normally do these sessions for this now SSA webinars, which this event is part of, is that we do make the links available afterwards in a location. The caveat is at the moment we are in the process of moving things around. So what you can do is go sign up for the event, and then what will happen is you should get a follow-up mail with a location to the recording. It might not be the final location, but it's at least a location that you can access. And what I'll do is let me make a note, because otherwise I forget, because I'm like a fish. We will see if we can share that link no, it won't be next Friday, the week after, because we've got 5 sessions from Monday through to Friday.
okay.
Yeah. I'm actually thinking now, luckily, Darko, we are up on, I'm Tuesday, you are Wednesday, so we don't have overlaps with being streaming, which would be fun, being in 2 places at once.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I'm on Wednesday. My webinar, which is already recorded, by the way, is coming up on that. And those webinars are most of the times recorded, not live, unless something happens that somebody doesn't upload the video on time or a bad video is uploaded on time.
Thanks for reminding me, Darko.
So
that was hilarious, though.
Let me tell you a story. Yeah, we were doing a webinar on operations, I think, right? So I recorded an operations webinar, and in the morning we should, basically get it through GoToWebinar. And usually, what happens is like I am on that webinar just to answer questions, and there was an issue with the upload. So it wasn't Cobus's problem. Something was wrong with the video.
No. I figured out what happened. Is like I went away from the modal, assuming that it was still uploading, and it wasn't.
Okay,
it looked like it was.
Okay, the video didn't upload correctly, and we couldn't upload it again in the time for me to do it. And all of a sudden, can you do it live? And I think luckily I had everything ready here. The problem was that that was using Systems Manager to do hybrid stuff. So I had to basically manage an external device, which I didn't have ready at the time. So I somehow cobbled it up, but it was very very exciting.
It was very impressive.
Yeah.
There's
a frontal icon
a lot of beers for that.
Winging it. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you got the phone tool yet? If you don't, you definitely earned it.
I don't. I think I need to get that thing. But it was really fun, I must say. Sometimes doing things like that raw on stage is can be stressful. But hey, you're doing it that way, so it's fun.
Yeah, but I mean, what I find with those kind of situations, if it's a topic you know really well, remember you're telling a story, you're working from past experience. It's just that let me mold it and talk about things. And for those who haven't done talks before, that's normally the talks that are the best. Is that if you give me a talk that I've got no context on, I can probably deliver it and it won't be too bad. But don't ask me any questions, and if anything goes wrong, I'm screwed. Whereas if it's something I did personally, like what Darko said, winging it.
Yeah. One of the things I also like to do, and I think this is a very important thing we need to focus on as we go along, is to have a narrowed scope of a talk. Because usually in the talk you would have, and this is still happening from time to time, that you have a talk that covers 10 topics, right? It covers a whole bunch of things. And then you context switch, right? You talk from this to that to that to that. And then you cannot basically, it's very difficult to get one consistent message across, because the goal of a talk is to deliver three things at the end, three things you, the audience, will take away home for, right?
Yeah.
And if I talk about 15 things in my talk, what are the three things you need to remember? Because I tell, hey, you need to remember these 15 things. You're going to tell me to go home, right? You're not going to remember 15 things and 15 important things, right? So there are still problems with some talks that are basically made in that way. Let's talk about these 11 services we have. And then, so I must say, that, like an example, I did yesterday, a good example. I did yesterday a talk on infrastructure as code on AWS, and it was just on that. And I could have spent a lot of time just, on my soapbox talking about why IC is great and why those things. And it's very good to do that because you have one topic and cover it in depth, but also with passion. Okay, I think the time is up.
Yeah.
Thank you everybody for joining.
You need to get your watch again. I'm missing the beeps.
Yeah, I left my watch. It's no longer on my wrist. I guess we can wrap this stream up. Thank you everybody for joining. I hope you enjoyed our attempts at CDK pipelines. It was fun to see it work, and it was fun to see it fail. We found a problem that we're going to try to fix with the CDK team, hopefully. And join us next week on Monday at the same time, where we're either gonna continue with CDK pipelines if we fixed it, or we're gonna just go back to the original thing and try to make our own Cobble thing work, right?
Well, basically fixing up our HTTP redirects and all those things that we had in place with our DNS now being ripped out.
Exactly. Cool. Everybody else, enjoy the weekend. I hope you have a really nice long weekend. I hope there's still some nice weather your part, and you are all safe and healthy. We will be seeing you on Monday. I will be ending the stream now. Bye-bye.
Adios.